ready? All right, cool. I'm ready too, man. Just waiting for the beat to drop.
Yeah, I like it.
You can't start till the beat drops. It's an unwritten rule of podcasting. Just kidding. What's up, people? Annibal here. Dreams to Reality podcast. This is episode 29. And I'm bringing you a special guest. He is a mixed martial artist. He's going to be fighting on January 7th at the Commerce Casino in Commerce, California. He's actually fighting for the Spar Star Featherweight Championship Belt. He's eager to win, eager to fight and prove himself in the mixed martial art world. So please help me welcome the highly talented Quest Truxton. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome to the show. How's your day been?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Good training in the morning. Walk the dog, get some food, and then head over here.
There you go. Where are you coming from, by the way?
Huntington Beach.
Oh, okay. HB, is that where you're born and raised?
No, I was born in Newport, raised Costa Mesa my whole life.
Okay. So you're an OC boy.
OC boy.
There we go. Are you a surfer?
No.
Dang, I thought everybody in the OC surfed, bro.
I was one of the
Skateboard?
few. Nope.
Scooter?
No.
So you just like to punch people in the face?
I do now, apparently.
Oh, okay, cool. That's awesome. Now, well, welcome to the show. I met you probably about, we were talking about it before we hit record on this, like 4 months ago, I think it was, at a Spar Star promotion fight. I actually was there to see the person you're going to be fighting for the belt, which is Tony Cortez. He was defending his belt that day, and you were in the undercard. And I remember seeing you fight, and I was really impressed by your striking ability. You know, I've been watching fighting since I was a little kid. You know, I grew up in the boxing world. Like my whole family boxes. I boxed, and you know that was like our tradition. All of our friends and family gathered together whenever there was like a Mike Tyson fight, or we're Mexican, so Julio Cesar Chavez. You know, watch all of his fights. And
like it.
My whole life I've been watching combat sports and fighters and following their thought process. And you know, one of my favorite philosophers are all fighters, you know, and so I love the sport of fighting, and it's beautiful and it's brutal at the same time, you know. So anyone that goes into a cage and is fighting someone else, I give respect to them, no matter what level they're at and no matter who they are. It takes some balls, you know, to get into a cage, look someone across the eyes and be like, hey, we're here to kick each other's ass. Definitely. And you're either going to tap or get knocked out, or we're going to see who the best man is today. And it's you and the other person, and there's no one else. Other sports, it's a team sport, you know, but and fighting, it is a team sport in a sense where you have a coach, you have a trainer, you have people, but guess what? Nobody's going to fight for you. It's you, you know. So I wanted to, you know, find out a little bit more about your journey, how you got into the MMA world, and, you know, how you got to this point where now you're going to be competing for the championship belt. And so let's go from there. So how long have you been fighting, and what led you to the MMA world?
I started training, I think, in sometime in the beginning of 2019.
Okay.
I'd just gotten done, finished up at college, played football in college, had the athleticism, kind of had been inching towards it towards the end of my football career, where I was like watching McGregor fights and big UFC pay-per-views and kind of being more excited about that than any NFL games on a Sunday. Yeah. And one of my boys' best friends since we were probably 5 had always been in it. His dad was a professional fighter. Oh, okay. So I was kind of familiar with it. Like I knew it existed, but I never really like dove into it. Yeah. And he had started fighting when I was in college. And I remember it was like we had like a week off for like the week before a bowl game in college, and it was his first fight, and I went to it, small amateur show, and I didn't have high expectations, and it was awesome, especially seeing someone you know in the cage changes the perspective of everything, because when you're watching on TV, you're like, these guys are crazy, like they're just beating each other up. When it's one of your boys or somebody you know, and like you like have that fear for them in there, you're like, oh man, I hope they're training. Then I knew him so well growing up, and I'm kind of like, why the hell are you doing this? And then I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to get in there.
Yeah, that's the beauty of pretty much any sport. Is it's very different watching it live and watching it on TV. You know, like I had never been to an MMA fight until I went to see you guys,
Really?
you know, 4
That's
months
sweet.
ago. But again, I've been watching fighting my whole life. And when you're actually there, the energy's different. You're more invested in the fight.
That was your first event in August?
Yeah.
Dang.
That was the first time.
That's awesome.
You know, live. I always watch stuff on TV,
Yeah.
but I never had been to an actual MMA fight. I've been to boxing and kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, wrestling, but actual MMA, I had never been to a in-person fight. And that's a great thing is when you're invested into the fighter, like you want to see them win, you want the other person to lose.
You get a little taste of that.
Yeah, you get excited. Like when they win, you get excited. You know, when they lose, like you feel the heartbreak. Like it's very intense, and it's a great thing. So anybody that hasn't been to an MMA fight, you guys got to go. You know, January 7th is gonna be exciting.
That would be a good one to start with.
Yeah. And later today, we're actually going to be doing a little promotion for that fight. We have your opponent, the current champion, Tony Cortez, is going to be here facing off with you. We're going to do a little sit down face off interview between both of you. And that guy's crazy. You know, he's crazy in the right way. So it's going to be entertaining, and I'm looking forward, you know, to seeing you fight. So as far as getting started, and so it's fairly new for you, 2019. So 3 years right before the pandemic. I thought you had been fighting for a really long time based off your fluidity in the ring. You know, you throw, I thought you were actually a Muay Thai fighter, to be honest. I thought, oh, this guy's probably like a Muay Thai fighter, but you started straight out in MMA.
Yeah, I jumped right into it. I started with jiu-jitsu initially, but at an MMA school.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, if I really want to do this, I got to dive into the part I understand the least. If I don't love jiu-jitsu and the ground game, I'm not going to have a future in this. And then lo and behold, I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. I'm learning under UFC champs, Marco Huas. He's from the early days, and he's teaching the MMA classes once a week. And I was kind of like, well, I can't pass this up. I got to go to that. I'm jumping into his class right off the bat. We're doing full MMA, full contact, Valley Tudo. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, this shit's for me.
That's freaking awesome. So your first martial arts in the MMA world was jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, that was my first class.
Okay. Yeah. What belt do you have right now?
Blue belt.
Blue belt? Okay. So it goes, what are the orders again? It's white?
White, blue, purple, brown, black.
Okay, cool. How long does it usually take to get your black belt?
I don't know. I've heard kind of the blanket statement of like 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah. Dang. I'm not really like, I'll love to have one day, but it's not like something I'm like working for. I put in the work every day to get it, so I know it'll come eventually. Yeah. But it's not something that I'm like, I gotta get that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've interviewed a couple of jiu-jitsu champions. I interviewed this young girl. She's 16 years old. Her name's Elena Kravar. I think she's a purple belt right now. But same thing. She says like she knows she's gonna get it eventually, you know, because she's putting in all the work. And when it comes, it's gonna be like a pleasant, you know, surprise. But at the same time, it's like I'm doing the work, you know. So it's funny, like when people win the lottery, you see they get like super fucking like, oh my God, I won the lottery. But when you see like a millionaire make like $1 million, they're like, oh, you know, I put in all the fucking work. You're like, what do you mean? I expected this shit to happen.
Anyone who's like, oh, I really want my black belt, and there's like any little bit of hesitancy or like hope for it, they're in the wrong thing. You know? Like that shit is, you work for it, and that's how you get it. No other way are you getting a black belt. Yeah, it's not going to be handed to you. You're going to have some blood, sweat, and tears, you know, getting there. Yeah. Most of I have a buddy who owns a BJJ gym, and he's a world champion. I think he won 3 times. He's a black belt as well. Then I have another buddy that he actually owns a BJJ chain as well. Man, they got all kinds of like freaking, his fingers are all jacked up. And they're in the gi every day ripping those things.
I was like, damn, dude, like your fingers look jacked up. Like my dad, he owns a carpet installing business. Man, he looks like a gargoyle with his hands and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? You're like made out of like calluses and stuff, you know? So it depends on your chosen career, how your hands are going to look, you know? And you chose one that's going to come with some scars. I see all the scars on your knuckles there.
I've had a few hand bang ups recently, but
Nice. Okay, so striking wasn't like your first martial arts. It was jiu-jitsu, or did you already have some kind of experience with, you know, kickboxing, boxing, Muay Thai?
I was an OC boy who played sports. I didn't throw any punches.
So then you're a natural. You know, you're a natural because you're very fluid with your punches and your kicks. You do a lot of elbows, very intricate things that most people can't do, you know.
Yeah, and part of that comes to the Muay Thai gym that I do train at now.
Okay, that makes sense.
Bryce Krause and Carnage Corbett. I don't know if you know those guys, but they're great, and they upped my striking before my first fight to freaking 10 times.
What's the name of the academy?
It's called Rising Suns Thai Boxing.
Shout out to Rising Suns Academy. So right now, what would you say is your biggest strength then? Would it be the jiu-jitsu or the striking?
I think everyone says the striking because that's what I like to do. And that's part of another part of the reason I started with jiu-jitsu first. Obviously, this came true, but at the time, it was just an ego thing. I was like, I'd always been a great athlete growing up. I was always the star player on whatever team or whatever sport I was doing. And the striking just looked like something I could do. I was like, I got that explosive, quick twitch in me. That's like how I made a living playing football, playing basketball, hockey. I was the undersized guy, and I was quick.
Yeah.
And then playing sports against guys who are 3 times my size, running down, trying to take my head off on punt returns. Yeah. Now I'm jumping into a sport where we weigh the same on that day or the day before, whatever it is. Yeah. I knew I was going to have the quick twitch and the athleticism to strike. Yeah. So I wanted to test my mind first, and there's no other way to do that in MMA than with jiu-jitsu. It's like the ultimate chess martial art. So test my mind first. I knew I had the body to fall back on for striking. And then when I started honing it and really working on it, I was like, I kind of proved myself right and was like, oh yeah, this is my strength.
That's awesome, man. So what's your record right now?
3-1.
So you've won 3 and you lost 1. Yep. What did those fights look like for you? Was your first fight the loss, or that happened later on?
It was my third fight was the loss. The first fight was a wrestler. I went in there and had no idea what to expect. I just knew I wanted to fight, and I had been training long enough, and my coaches thought it was a good opportunity. I jumped on it. I was really chomping at the bit because by now I'm fully engulfed in it. The last 2.5 years through the pandemic, I'm watching all the UFC Fight Island events. Yeah. I was so jacked to get in there and just soak it all in and knock the dude out. What a great way to start your career.
That's freaking beautiful.
Yeah. I don't think I had any business being in there, but I'm sure I'll say that about every one of my fights when I look back on it. Then the second one, I had a little war where I got rocked in the first 30 seconds and was like, oh shit, no, this is real. I'm not just going to walk my way into knocking people out.
You were expecting another knockout. Was it a first round knockout or on your first fight?
Second round.
Okay.
So it was a good experience for the first one. And then the second one I got clipped, which was another good. I'm looking for those adversity moments, especially in amateur. There's no, who gives a shit, wins and losses in amateur. You go pro, it's all forgotten. Yeah. So I get clipped, turn around, knock him down in the same round. And then we had a good little war, one on a decision.
Nice.
And then the third fight, I was like, okay, like let's up the level of competition a little bit. Yeah. Took a guy with, I think he had like 8 or 9 fights at the time. Yeah. Really upped my game for it. Yeah. Got in there, was feeling it out, striking battle. First punch I crack him with, it stung him, broke my hand.
No way.
Like, oh, sweet.
Oh, shit.
There's like 30 seconds left in the round. I question mark kick him in the head. I'm like, I got to get this dude out of here because it feels like my damn arm's going to explode. Yeah. Take him down, finish the round, and then the next 2 rounds, he kind of just got the better of me in the clinch and took me down, and I was just kind of like, my head was spinning, my hands broke, and it felt like I was going to throw up if I punched with it. So but it was good adversity because then this leads me to my fourth fight. Another guy that wants to strike, come out, hurt him early. Yeah. Almost finish him in the first round. I know I got him on his way out. Get to my stool after the first round. Broke my hand again.
Dang, bro.
But this time, it's no problem.
You've been through it.
I've been through it. And I go, nothing crazy is going to happen. Yeah. After the third fight, I was like, you get done with the fight, and you're like, you watch it, and you're like, damn, I could have done more. I could have thrown a couple jabs with it. I could have parried with it. I could have feinted it more. I could have done more to finish this fight and still win. Yeah. And so that adversity led me to my win in my fourth fight because I was like, all right, my hand's broken, whatever. Fuck this. Let's go through him. Yeah. Second round, put him away.
That's freaking beautiful, bro.
Punch him with the broken hand and all.
Yeah. The thing is that when people experience something that they never experienced before, that fear hits them, you know, and a lot of times people quit, you know, mentally. And they don't they don't persevere.
Yeah.
And in boxing, you know, a lot of fighters break their hands while they're fighting. And they tell you, you know, at one point your hand's going to go numb and you can throw that shit to the wall and you won't feel nothing.
Yeah.
But when you first feel your hand break, you're like, no way am I going to throw this again. It's
like,
going to hurt more. I'm going to damage some more damage, you know. But that's the mentality of a warrior, of someone that's in combat sports, is like, when you're in the ring, people don't really understand. You become a different version of yourself to where you're almost fighting to the death, you know, because you're there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to win, you know. And whatever is in your way, sometimes it's your own body.
Yeah, it's your mind, your body, whatever.
It's a mental warfare. Yes, you're preparing physically. You're training, you're dieting, you're working out, you're practicing, you're grappling, you're striking. But if you're not fortifying your mind and putting yourself in the position where if anything happens, I'm going to persevere, then typically the first adversity, the first time you get punched, the first time you get hurt, the first time that, you know, you feel dizzy and you feel like throwing up, you feel whatever it is, you're going to crumble. Yeah. Every single champ has been rocked, has been hurt. Maybe not Floyd Mayweather, but everybody else.
Yeah. Real.
Actually, no, he's been hurt too.
He's been stung.
He's been stung a couple times. But back to the point is, now that you've been through that adversity, then you know what to expect.
Yeah.
You know, so going into this next fight, you're going to be fighting for the belt. Belts. Oh, that's right. So you're fighting for the featherweight, and you're fighting for what other belt?
California State title.
Oh, that's right. So he's got the California State, the Spar Star. He's got like 7 belts. So is it safe to say this is your toughest opponent?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. How do you feel going into this fight?
I'm excited.
Okay.
I kind of going back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
If you don't have your mind sharpened, I don't care how nice you've been training, how well you put your body together to go in there for combat. If your mind isn't sharp, then you're going to crumble at the first sign of adversity. Yeah. And I kind of try to pride myself on that. Not like I got the sharpest mind, but that's what I put the biggest emphasis on, because I'm so inexperienced compared to most of the guys I'm fighting. I want to have the sharper mind. Yeah. I know I don't have the time and the mat time and the time on the bag to match them, so I want to have that mindset. Yeah. And so when I first broke my hand, I was disappointed in myself that I let that kind of I didn't quit, but I didn't look to finish the fight still. I was then thinking, how can I get through this fight? How can I maneuver and maybe win on points?
You were in a defensive,
comes in your head, that
defensive mode instead
get
of
out of the
offensive.
cage. If you're thinking like that, get out of the cage. That's not where you belong. But I try to sharpen my mind like that, and I've always been, growing up, I want all the pressure. I want the brightest lights. Yeah. I want the #1 seed. I want the champ. I want this because I know it's going to bring the best out of me. Yeah. And when it brings the best out of me, win or lose, I'm going up. Yeah. And I'm moving up. And it's a long march the way I'm going. Yeah. And I win, I get all these belts. They don't mean shit to me. They're amateur belts. Yeah. I'm not looking to be the king of amateurs, the conqueror of amateurs, as you will. But sharpening my mind with these big moments is why I'm here. Yeah. Because that makes everything else in my life a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was watching this, it was on Instagram. It was like a little reel or clip or something. I don't really know who this guy was, but he must have been a trainer or an ex-fighter or something, because he was an older gentleman. He was like bald, probably like in his 50s. But he was talking about training, and he was saying, you know, if you lose in training, nobody's going to care.
Oh, yeah, that was Danaher, John Danaher.
Oh, that's who it was?
He's a big jiu-jitsu coach. Yeah,
that's who it is. I didn't know who he was. But what he said, I was like, damn, that's very profound, and that makes a lot of sense. You know, if you lose against whoever you're training with, it doesn't matter. What matters is when it does, when you're in the ring and you're fighting for a belt, or you're fighting for, you know, for the next opponent, and you're trying to climb the ladder. Because guess what? There's other people that have the same mindset as you, and it's a fucking dogfight. Yeah. You know, they want the same thing you want. Who's gonna win? You know, and that's what's also beautiful about fighting. Yeah. It's like when you see two people that are like, shit, I really don't know who's going to win here. This is going to be an interesting fight. I have this person favored, but in the fight game, anything could happen. Yeah. You know, you could be winning the whole round, and then there comes, we call it the quest kick.
There we go. Hey,
comes out of nowhere, you know, and then the fight's over. And, you know, so that's what's exciting. And you're right. You know, there's certain, you don't have to win every single time, but when it matters, you should win, and you should be prepared, for that fight.
It's kind of like that. The balance of it is not caring about the outcome, but with that comes you don't have to care about the outcome as long as you gave it everything you had.
Yeah.
If you gave it everything you had and you came up short, what are you going to be, upset?
Yeah.
That's the fight game. You came up short. If you came out with a win and you didn't give it everything you had and you felt you could have done better, that might as well be a loss to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone says a win's a win. Yeah, maybe on the scorecards,
Yeah.
But if you put in the amount of work and the amount of effort and you gave it everything you had in that cage, that's the win for you. And that's, I mean, it's a selfish way to think, but that's how you have to be. That's the most selfish part of it, is you're doing this for you to test yourself. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that you fight for.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to that and caring about it, like when guys say, I haven't met that yet, but these guys talk about it's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
Highest of highs, I understand. Lowest of lows, yeah, maybe if you didn't give it everything you got. If you give it everything you got, what do you got to lose? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you haven't felt that, like, defeat. Like,
I'm sure that'll come when it's freaking world champ fight and you gave it everything you got and you came up short. That one stings a little bit harder.
Yeah, I think that's what they're talking about when they say that.
But when we're climbing the amateur ranks, we're not even professionals yet.
Yeah.
I'm learning. This is, it's going to be a huge event. It'll be awesome. This is the most experience I'll get in an amateur fight, I'm sure, just to be under these bright lights, to get this production. We're doing the face-offs. This is a great experience, but this is also an amateur fight. Yeah. I plan on having many more. I got a long career ahead of me, and I'm just getting started.
Yeah. So what is your long-term goal in MMA? What do you want to do?
I want to be a champ. Obviously, everyone says that, but that's the goal. You put that up there.
You want to be the
that's
UFC?
Not the end game. Yeah,
Featherweight
UFC,
champ?
whatever the premier promotion is at the time. That's the thing. Is I don't like to get too caught up in, I want to be the UFC champ. UFC could be bought out by one or shit like this.
Yeah.
All that stuff's out of my control. I want to take this as far as I can take it. I want to know that I gave this sport everything I had. So when I'm done with it, I can look back on it, and it's kind of like the fight. My whole career is like a fight to me. Did I give it everything I had?
Yeah.
All right, then whatever outcome is the outcome. It's not going to be like, oh man, I wasn't this, or oh look, I was so close, or I was so good, I did win. It's, did I give it everything I had?
Yeah.
And that's the most important part to me.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so your opponent, Tony Cortez, is talking a lot of shit, bro.
Yeah.
Been talking a lot of shit. He'll send me like screenshots and like voice messages. I'm like, dude,
he's in my DMs the next day. I mean, it
he's
took him a couple
bro.
days to accept the fight. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe we'll ask him about it in the interview.
There you go.
But then once the fight was accepted, there you go, in my DM requests. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. I did have some questions, though, as far as fighting your opponents. When you go into the ring and you're fighting an opponent, how do you see that? How do you see your opponent? Is it someone that's, helping you elevate your level? Yeah. Is it someone that's trying to take away what you're trying to get? Like, how do you view your opponent?
That's interesting, because I do kind of study fighters, and like hearing that kind of thing of, this guy's trying to take food off my plate, trying to take my dreams away. I never really thought about that. It's kind of like a faceless shadow once I'm in there. It's how this guy's going to bring the best out of me. This guy has brought me lessons. What am I going to learn from it? Am I going to be able to conquer it? Am I going to be able to get through this kind of adversity that he brings?
Yeah.
This and that. But it's all me testing myself. And that's why I always have the utmost respect for my opponents.
Yeah.
Because they have the same goals as me, whether or not for the same reasons, they want to win.
Yeah.
They're hopefully, I would expect from here on out, everyone I sign to fight wants to win as bad as I do.
Yeah.
But as soon as that bell rings, there's nothing else. There's no emotion. There's not, what was he DMing me 2 weeks ago? What did he say about this? It's how am I going to put this guy's lights out? Because that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to think about it, because some people don't look at it that way. They look at it differently. And, I tell people all the time, whether your motivation is positive or negative, use whatever you have to get the job done. Some people say like, oh, I'm doing this for my mom. I'm doing this for my family. Yeah. Great. That's a positive motivation. Other people like, I'm doing this shit to prove everybody wrong. Yeah. Everyone's has looked at me like I wasn't going to accomplish anything. And then boom, they use that energy. Emotions are are things that you can use to drive you to accomplish whatever your goal is. You know, so the cool thing about fighting is that the goal is clear. You know, it's very, very clear. Yeah. Sometimes I'll tell people like, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals in life? They're so vague. Like, you're never going to do anything because you don't know what your goal is. Yeah. You know, with MMA, it's pretty simple. I want that freaking belt, you know, and the physical belt doesn't mean anything. Like you said, it's just a piece of metal. Yeah. You know, they're like, when they interviewed Mike Tyson, he's like, he has all these belts and they're like, it's trash. It's
Dust
nothing.
Collectors.
Yeah. It means nothing. It's just blood and tears that I had to put in. Yeah. What matters is the journey that it took for me to get there. You know, so right now, is MMA the only thing you're doing, or are you doing anything outside of MMA?
I mean, that's the passion. Everything else is to continue that passion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Any other work is to fuel the training and getting me to a safe spot to where I can fight for a living. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's obviously the goal. And along that way, I'm sure every amateur, there's plenty of pros when you want to get into fighter pay that are struggling to continue pursuing their dream because of the money. And it's not, unless you're at the top, and I mean like top percentage of UFC fighters like that. There's guys in Bellator making some good money, but this is not the place to go if money's your main concern. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's you got to prove that this is what you really want.
Yeah. There's way easier ways to make money. There's way easier ways to make money.
Yeah, and that's one thing that, you know, we talk about on our podcast is, you know, I interview people from different industries, whether it's MMA, musicians, you know, professional comedians, and they all want to reach that pinnacle, you know, that top point of the 1% that's making millions and is famous and is successful and is having all these different deals. But to get to that point, it's pretty rare, and not a lot of people can get there, you know. So you have to have a plan on how you're going to accomplish that, you know, and what vehicles are you going to take to get there, because there's a lot of fighters that, you know, unfortunately, they just don't have the means to continue their career. Yeah. They have a family, they have a job, and they're not getting compensated enough to follow their passion. And unfortunately, there's so many lost dreams because of that. You know, so sometimes having a support system is huge. Yeah. You know, having people that believe in you, that can support you and guide you along the way. You know, and also you having ways of making an income. You know, that can support your career till you get to that point. So right now, do you have any mentors or anyone that's kind of helping you along your journey, that's kind of helped you elevate your game in all aspects?
I mean, I have great coaches that I'm learning from every day in every other way. But as far as like figuring out the fight game and how to make it and how to kind of fuel yourself to not burn out, you know, but also keep money in your pocket and be able to continue doing this. Yeah. I'm pulling from everything. I'm pulling from YouTube clips. What does this fighter do? Podcasts of fighters talking about what they did. Yeah. And that's what kind of got me into getting sponsorships recently, which has been huge for me. Yeah. And I always felt kind of weird, like reaching out to people like, hey, this is my dream. But when you have the commitment and people see it and they see the outcomes, I'm sure when I have money, I'll be right behind somebody and go, hell yeah, I love your attitude. That shit deserves to be seen all the way through. Yeah. And I'm not going to let a couple $100 a month get in the way of somebody from stopping their dreams, you know, like that's that's the goal you want in life, is to be able to help others reach their goals. I think that's a clean goal that everyone can agree upon. If you made it and you achieved your dreams, go help some other people. I think everyone can agree that that's a good thing to want in life.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a big purpose behind this podcast, is to allow people to share their story, share their personality, share who they are, so that other people can connect with them and follow them along their path. You know, there's a lot of people that now are going to know, okay, this is who Quest is. Yeah. You know, because anyone that follows my page or my podcast has heard Tony. They know his mindset. They know who he is. Yeah. They support him. They like him, whatever, you know, and they want to go see him fight now.
And that's one of my favorite parts about this podcast, is you reached out and you say dreams to reality. And right off the bat, I'm hooked. Right off the bat, the name, I'm like, and he's just interviewing people that he likes their style, wants to give them the platform so everyone knows more about me. They don't just see the fighter in there. And that helped with Tony. if I was just looking at Tony from the outside or from what his Instagram and DMs have been, I'd have been like, fuck this guy. He's a fucking idiot. But then I watched the podcast and I'm like, damn, I fuck with this dude. Like his whole story is awesome. You know, like from where he came from, all the adversity he's had to overcome, the shit that he's done, the psychedelics, the fucking spirituality of him. Yeah. It's all there and he's putting it together and he's still a younger dude. Yeah. He's crazy more mature than his age, but then you kind of get the fighter side of him and the Instagram and the promotional side. But this podcast made me understand who he truly is. Yeah. And I like that. And to get to see more people like that instead of just what the media is going to show you or what you saw one time, I think that's the best part about podcasts is because you can't fake the shit for hours on end in conversations. You know what I mean?
Right. And you know, the thing is when you see someone that's super successful, you really don't know who they are. Yeah. You don't know their story. You don't know their personality unless they share it. And most people are not really that open, you know, with sharing their life. So, you know, I appreciate anybody that takes the time out of their day to come on here and, you know, kind of talk about their journey, what they've learned. And it's also a way to impact other people, you know, because there's other kids watching, younger people or older people that, you know, have a passion in something, but, you know, something is preventing them from doing it. And a lot of the times is their own mind, you know. So one thing that I notice over and over and over again as I interview people is that the mindset is very similar for high achievers, you know, people that want to accomplish things and then have accomplished things. And, you know, I see that in you as well. So you said Tony's younger. How old are you?
26.
You're 26?
Yeah, a few years older. I mean,
yeah, he's what, 20?
You know what I mean?
21? I think he just turned 21.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be like, oh, he's just a young kid.
This little kid.
The kid's lived a fucking pretty intense life for a 21-year-old. Yeah. But kind of back to what you were saying about people being honest on these podcasts, that comes back to the mentors. That's where I'm looking at. I'm seeing up-and-coming fighters. I found Sugar Sean O'Malley when he had just burst on the scene in the Contender series. So he's a scrawny little kid knocking people out. And I was like, I want to hear what he's doing. I want to see what got him here. And he's got a little podcast with his coach that is now a big thing.
That's awesome.
But at the time, I remember listening to it, and there was like 100 views. Yeah. And my fiance was kind of like, what are you watching? And then she realized that I'm watching these guys to mentor myself. I'm trying to see what they're doing. Yeah. They were kind of goofballs in the early episodes, just kind of putting shit together, recording an hour every week. Yeah. But in that hour of rambling was their little nuggets of truth and honesty of what the shit was that they were going through. They were struggling in an apartment, trying to find fights, trying to get sponsors, trying to do this. And then they had just burst on the scene. And there I go, a free mentor on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. We talk about mentorship on this podcast a lot. And the last guest I had on, we were talking about this book called Think and Grow Rich. Have you heard of the book?
Yeah. Okay. I was listening to that episode.
Okay, yeah. So very similar. There's a concept in there of, you know, having a mentor that you've never met. And the beautiful thing about the internet and YouTube and podcasting, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. I tell people over and over again, whatever you want to do, I don't care if you want to do hair, you want to do makeup, you want to be a MMA fighter, you want to be a bodybuilder. There is so much information out there that can help you get to your goal, but it's your job to find it.
You got to sift through the shit.
You got to sift through it. You got to find people you connect with, someone that, you know, the thing about truth and honesty is that when it hits you, you just feel it. Yeah, it just resonates. And nobody's got to tell you anything else. Be like, damn, that makes a lot of sense. Like, wow, that really, I'm going to apply that in my life. Yeah. And then when you apply these principles and, you know, these golden nuggets, like you said, that someone that's accomplished what you want to accomplish shares, and then you see the results from that, you're like, holy fuck, I want more.
It's like the blueprint kind of.
Yeah. And you just, you dive deep into it, and experience is another huge thing. Like that broken hand incident, you can't really, like I heard all the time, like when you box, you break your hand, after 30 seconds, it's going to go numb. Like, okay, cool.
Shit didn't happen.
There you go. You know, so you have to go through experience, you know, and you have to have practical knowledge, but also you don't have to make mistakes that others have made before you, because all you can do is you literally go on YouTube. You can find people that have done what you've done and listen to them. You know, it doesn't cost anything.
And I had asked my fiance before we did this podcast, I was like, you think I should mention my hands? Because then there's that kind of weird balance with fighters, and like, you don't want to expose that you're like not indestructible.
Yeah.
Because the guys at the top are like, I'm fucking made of steel. Like, he can't stop me. He can't hurt me. He can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to help the next guy coming up already.
Yeah.
I want to start my own podcast and show from the beginning of the amateurs, I'm not in it for money, but when I do make it to the top, these kids will have all my thoughts and stories and fears and worries and goals from the beginning. So I need to get on that. But I ended up sharing with you the hand stuff because somebody out there is going to be listening to it and go, okay, yeah. And when that comes up in their fight, they'll be like, shit, I remember when Quest said that, and he said he was being a bitch, and he should have just started pummeling the dude with it. Yeah. And that's kind of the give and take of this.
Yeah. Yeah, you're being vulnerable in that situation. And I understand the thought process because, a lot of people are like, I'm not going to tell them. They say don't see your opponent see you sweat, you know, or don't watch your haters see you sweat. And I understand that mentality, but at the same time, we are all human. Yeah. And I don't know any fighter that hasn't had an injury, you know, or something. And to be honest, breaking a bone isn't all that bad. As long as you didn't jack up some ligaments and tendons and all that. If you break a bone, typically they grow back stronger.
Isn't that some shit?
When I was boxing as a kid, I would literally punch the ground over and over and hard surfaces. To build up the knuckles and shit.
I'm putting some density.
You're essentially breaking the bone down, and it's calcifying. And when it calcifies, that shit's hard as hell, you know. So you'll be all right.
Literally, like a week after I broke mine, I think a Stylebender had a fight coming up, and here he is posing at the face-offs. Yeah, man, that dude's knuckles look like a mountain range. They're like the biggest one. This one's coming up this way. I'm like, all right, but he broke his shit plenty of times, so I'll be all right.
Yeah. Broken bones. It's part of the game, to be honest. You're gonna break your nose. You're gonna break this. You're gonna break that. If you get punched in the face, things are gonna happen, you know. And there are certain injuries that will end your career. So you do have to be very, very careful. And sometimes it's also shit luck. You know, like I've seen some pretty horrific injuries in MMA, you know, people's eyeballs getting all fucked up and, you know, heads being cracked. And you can die. You can die in a freaking ring, you know. Shit. And
I mean, don't remind me.
Yeah, you're a modern day warrior, man, and you're going into battle. And you know, that's a lot of the fear that people have and why it's also exciting. Yeah. You know, it's weird how humans are, but we find, I don't know if it's pleasure or what it is, but we enjoy watching people beat the shit out of each other.
We've been doing it for a while. And
World
it used
Star.
to be worse.
Yeah, before they literally killed each other in the Coliseum. Like they'll put them with animals and shit and all kinds of crazy stuff.
That's my favorite part about getting together for a big UFC main event. Yeah. Like the whole crowd's on their feet. These dudes are going to war. And literally everyone's on the edge of their seat just to see somebody's consciousness switch get flipped. He goes out,
everybody screams. Nuts. Yeah, it's wild.
Wild shit.
It's a wild thing to watch. And in person it's even more exciting because like in your house you're like, you know, you're safe, but in there it's like everyone around you is like pumped and screaming and stuff. So it's pretty fun, man.
Oh, we're gonna have some fun on January 7th.
I know, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know after this this podcast ends, we're going to have some fun right outside of these walls here, watching you two face off. You get to pretty much ask Tony whatever you want to ask him. He's get to ask you whatever he wants to ask you. You get to tell him whatever you want to tell him and vice versa. So I just want you to be genuine with who you are and honest. And, you know, hopefully you guys don't fight. Just kidding. No, don't punch each other. Yeah. But I'm really excited for that, man. But I definitely want to have you back on the podcast after this fight, you know, to kind of hear how everything went. And I'm going to be following your career, you know, as you grow, you know, because as you said, you're just getting started and you really are. And I see a bright future with you. I see, you know, you having a lot of natural talent that's only going to get better with experience and time. And, you know, I'm really, really excited for the fight on January 7th. I got a backstage pass, VIP pass, so I can be anywhere I want. So I'm going to be right up in your face with my camera, shooting you guys on that day. I'll be backstage talking to you as well. But before we wrap up, you know, is there anything you want to share, you know, to an up-and-coming fighter that wants to accomplish some of the things that you've accomplished or maybe is struggling, or what are some of the key things that you would tell anyone?
I think one of the biggest things for me that I've always been able to fall back on, because I was gifted it as a youth, is self-belief. If you don't believe you can do it, nobody else is going to be able to fuel you into your dreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had kind of grown up like that. Like I was grown up being told I could do whatever. And it sounds cheesy, but I'm very grateful that I was told that by family members, siblings, parents, friends. Yeah. They saw it. And once you get on that role of, I can really do whatever I want if I put my mind to it, then you're good to go. I don't care what you're doing. If you are able to put your ego aside and handle setbacks, it's really like a stoicism type way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like putting into words, maybe that's the key. Grab a Stoic book. You know what I mean? Because they had it figured out. Everything is a challenge sent to you, and are you going to overcome it? You're going to let it make you or break you?
Yeah, we talk about stoicism a lot on this podcast as well. You know, pretty much every single episode, I do some kind of Marcus Aurelius quote or, you know, Seneca or something. That's a good book. It's a good book. Yeah, so stoicism is definitely a tool and a philosophy that I recommend to anybody, and especially a fighter, you know. But two things that you said right now that did resonate a lot with me, because funny enough, your dad and your family was sitting right next to me.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that
at the fight, and super nice people, and I could see the joy and, you know, the happiness in your dad's eyes. I even took a picture of you guys hugging right after you won, and I sent it to you. And having your family support you and having their, you know, their support system is a huge thing. Luckily, myself, I've had that as well. My parents, you know, have always supported me. Anything I do, they're very encouraging and great people. But I've also seen other family, whether it's not like that. They're like fucking mortal enemies and shit. Like, you hate your mom? Like, why do you hate your mom?
Right,
you know? Yeah. So, you know, so sometimes family is not blood. It could be someone else that gives you that same support system. And having that self-belief is everything. You know, because if you don't believe in yourself, who the fuck else will? You know, luckily you had your family and friends that were there, but other people are not in that boat. So you have to believe in yourself before anything else.
Because everybody else has got to go back to their lives the next day.
Yeah.
You get knocked out, you win, it doesn't matter. They got to go back to work. They got to be at work on Monday. They got to do what they're chasing, what they're working for.
Yeah.
And to have family that's there regardless, no matter what, win or lose, that's a beautiful thing to have in your corner.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, you got the VIP. You got a great picture of me and my dad.
Yeah.
That was the first time my dad saw me win.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's a great story to it. He had gotten cancer before my first fight.
Oh, wow.
Mantle cell lymphoma. And so he was going through chemo as I'm getting ready for my first fight. And like with COVID and your immune system's a little weaker going through that stuff. He had to stay back and watch it from the stream. And then the first fight that he got to watch was the one I broke my hand in, the first one.
Yeah.
And so I was like, damn, I like came up short for him. You
know
what I mean? So then fast forward to that fourth fight that you were just at, you snagged the perfect pick of him seeing me do it live. It's getting the emotions going right now. But I think that's another big thing is don't fight for yourself.
Yeah.
You know? Shit.
It's all right, brother. Like, we're all human.
He's got a battle that he don't get to sign a contract and prepare for, you know what I mean? Like he's got to go to war regardless. He's fighting for his life every day.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off of fighting in a cage. You know, I get to do this. I get to go fight Tony. I get to fight the #1 guy in the state. I get to do the main event. These are all bonuses. There's no fear behind it.
Right.
I'm going in there with nothing to lose and everything to win. And it's because I'm fighting to show everyone else that that's what you can do. You can come through adversity no matter what you're fighting and use it to make you and not break you.
That's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful. I felt that.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw it too. You know, I didn't know what your dad was battling and what was going on, but I could see the emotion in his eyes and the excitement and the way he was talking. And I just, right when you guys hugged, I shot that picture and it was perfect.
Beautiful shot.
I think I even quoted something like the pride of a father.
This is what a proud father looks like.
That's what I said. That's what I said on the go, because that's what I thought when I took the picture. But you know, I'm looking real forward to the fight on January 7th. Anybody out there, make sure you guys go to SSPMMA.com and purchase tickets to this fight. It's going to be on January 7th.
Use promo code Truxton, TRUXTON.
promo code Truxton. Help a fighter that you want to support. Any sponsors out there that want to support Quest on his journey, reach out to Quest. What's your MMA hand? I'm sorry, your IG handle?
Quest MMA.
Quest MMA. Make sure all you guys follow Quest on IG. Reach out to him. Give him some support. Purchase a ticket. I'll be there. We're all going to be there, brother. We look forward to it, and we'll see you guys next time.
You guys, thanks.